So the barber trims my beard all nice, like an artist. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I wanted the beard gone. So then I went home and shaved it off completely after I was done. I felt horrible. The passion. Rafael Devers is the biggest contract in franchise history. He needs to be a leader for this Red Sox team. The opinions on all your favorite teams. Are the Patriots close to playoff contention? Yes. Are they close to Super Bowl contention? Hell no. This is the Brady Farkas Show on WTEV AM and WTEV Radio.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show here on a Tuesday. We missed you yesterday. Red Sox lost, and we didn't have a show. Terrible day across the board. Hope you all are well. Good to be back, though. We're on for the next 40 minutes, 5:30 until 6:10. We need an intro. I like to change the intros out every 2 months or so. We're on 3 months for that intro. I'm going to have to get on that this week and change it out. So you can get in on the Ayers Auto text line. That's 802-585-3026. The show is brought to you by Fecto Homes, your total home solution in Montpelier. Again, the Air Auto text line, the new sponsor of our text line, 802-585-3026. No guest today. We're just grip it and rip it for the next 40 minutes here. A lot of baseball. I know we could do the live stuff versus PGA. We will talk briefly about that before the Red Sox game, but today it's mostly a baseball day. The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations at Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, Swanton Lumber, and now, by the way, at Rouse's Point, New York as well, and online at sticksandstuff.com. The breaking news out of baseball is this. Texas Rangers pitcher Jacob deGrom needs Tommy John surgery. And this is his second Tommy John surgery. He's going to be out for the year. We don't know yet whether he's going to need a full Tommy John or internal brace procedure, which is what Trevor Story of the Red Sox got this offseason. We're not sure. And the reason why I bring you this story is because my idea of how you build a baseball team is kind of being thrown for a loop this year. It's kind of being thrown for a loop. And I will mention my Mariners to you, not because the Mariners are the most important part of this, but because it's just a jump-off point for the discussion. But the Mariners last year had a very good season, right? They won 90 games. They got to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. They were expected this year to be a true contender. And as we enter play on Tuesday, they're horrible. Well, I take that back. They're very average. They're 29-30. And Mariners fans are up in arms because the Mariners did not go above and beyond in free agency to go get those missing pieces. They didn't go out of their way to spend big to get those missing pieces. And what I've just come to the realization about is baseball is so random. And that's why it's beautiful, because you can get that random season out of nowhere, like last year for the Mariners. It wasn't out of nowhere. They had been good the year before, but they went on a special run. Like 2021 for the Red Sox, where they ended up in the ALCS. Nobody expected that. So baseball is beautifully random in that things can coalesce together for you in a perfect way. But baseball is also random that it's beautifully frustrating. And no matter what your plan is, it always has a chance to work, and it always has a chance to leave you snake bit. And I have said this for years. I believe the best way to build a baseball team is to build up through prospect capital, right? Draft, develop, sign, international sign, Rule 5, look under the couch cushions. Just bring in guys internally and cheaply. Let them grow, let them matriculate together. And then when it's time, I believe you go out and you make moves to accentuate your roster, right? Sometimes those moves are through trades, like we saw with the Red Sox in 2018, where they go out and trade Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech to get Chris Sale. Sometimes those moves are through free agency, where actually they did that in 2017, excuse me. 2018, the Red Sox signed JD Martinez. They identify him as the missing piece, and it all works, right? But I believe at the core, you need to build up your team from within. That's what the Mariners did. That's what the Cubs did when they won the World Series. That's what the Dodgers have been built on forever. And even though teams can and do spend money, they are all built from homegrown cores. That's what the Royals were. That's what the San Francisco Giants were. A lot of champions have been built that way. And what I'm getting at is no matter what your plan is, apparently, it has a chance to work for you or it has a chance to blow up in your face. I look at the Rangers right now. The Rangers last year went out and spent money on John Gray, money on Marcus Semien, money on Corey Seager, and they were horrible, right? They spent $500 million on those guys and were absolutely horrible. This year, Semien's great. Seager's great. Gray is great. They went and added further DeGrom, who now is out, but Eovaldi and Andrew Heaney, and the Rangers are one of the best teams in baseball. So they go out and spend massively. In 1 year, they're awful, and the next year, they're great. The Mariners decide to go out and not do a lot this offseason. They didn't go sign guys. They trade for Colton Wong, and they trade for Teoscar Hernandez, both, by the way, who should have been upgrades over what they had last year, and they can't get out of their own way. The Baltimore Orioles, everybody criticized for doing nothing all offseason, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Everybody said, oh, the Orioles need to do more. Kyle Gibson and Cole Irvin are not enough, and here the Orioles are with a top 3 record in the American League. No matter what your plan is in baseball, it has room to be criticized, it has room to work, and it has room to fail. I have seen the Red Sox won the World Series in 2018. In 2019, brought back the exact same roster and missed the playoffs. 2018, they're really good. They win the World Series. 2019, same roster. I think they won 83 games, despite having Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts and Rafi Devers and Chris Sale for a lot of the year and Nathan Eovaldi. They had all those guys, and they were terrible in 2019 with the exact same roster. Philadelphia Phillies get to the World Series last year. They go out and add in free agency Taijuan Walker and Trey Turner, and they go trade for Gregory Soto, under 500 as we talk. The Padres, everybody's talked about the Padres for years. Trade for Juan Soto, sign Xander Bogaerts, sign Michael Wacha, trade for Blake Snell, get Yu Darvish. They've made all these moves over the last several years, and they can barely even get to the playoffs. They got there last year. They got there in the pandemic season, but they missed it entirely the year in between in 2021. So my point is this: no matter what you do, baseball is so random that you might end up having egg on your face. Mariners Nation is mad that they didn't go out and spend. Well, Xander Bogaerts has ended up hurt for the Padres, might need an IL stint. Trey Turner hasn't been great in Philly. Jacob deGrom is now hurt and out for the season. On the other side, well, hey, Aaron Judge looks great, and Nathan Eovaldi's look great, so spending can work. JD Martinez was great for the Red Sox in 2018. Whereas Trevor Story for the Red Sox has barely played since signing that contract. Chris Bryant goes to Colorado and has barely played since signing that contract. So no matter what you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't in baseball. It's beautiful, and it's beautifully frustrating. And that's why we love it, and that's why we hate it, and that's why I throw my remote through the television in my head every single night practically. Because no matter what path you choose, you have no idea what your results are going to be. Right? The Mariners should be better this year with Teoscar Hernandez and Colton Wong. They're not. The Rangers should have been better last year with Marcus Semien, John Gray, and Corey Seager. They were horrible. This year, great. Potential World Series favorites. The Houston Astros are great again, in spite of signing Jose Abreu, who's been horrible. The Chicago White Sox made the playoffs in 2020 and 2021 We're supposed to get better with a young core. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. Right? They've drafted, they've developed, they've signed, they've traded, and it hasn't worked. And it's just, you never know. So everybody who's mad at the Mariners and everybody who's mad at the Red Sox for doing this, that, or the other, just understand, like, you're taking a risk now in everything that you do in this sport. Everything that you do. Will over in Plattsburgh says, you never know what team you'll end up with. It's about health and momentum. I agree with a lot of that. And also, it's about the other teams around you, right? Like, in the NFL, I say this all the time, right? Why is 1 year not necessarily predictive of the next year? Because every year your schedule changes, and every year your opponents change as a result, and every year the teams around you change. So, like, when I look at baseball this year, right, the Minnesota Twins are not a very good team. But because they play in the awful AL Central and get a lot of games against the Central, they have a chance to make the playoffs. The Red Sox, I actually think, are better than we think, but because they play in the AL East, they are in last place. And now with the balanced schedule, you're seeing everybody. And it depends on when you see teams. I still don't believe the Pittsburgh Pirates are particularly good. The Red Sox saw them at the beginning of the year, good vibes, fresh out of spring training, and they got swept. If they saw them in September, they might not get swept. They might sweep them. Right now you're playing the Dodgers, and you're getting less games. You know, you're seeing the Dodgers here, and you're seeing the Diamondbacks here who are good. And it is tough. Again, your opponents change, the teams around you change. Okay, my Mariners have the benefit of playing the A's, who are now one of the worst teams in baseball. Right now, they're 7-0 against the A's, are solely keeping the Mariners kind of afloat. Kind of afloat. Whereas the Red Sox are now 1-7 against the Rays. Because the division is that good. I want to mention the Red Sox, because I mentioned Trevor Story. Interesting revelation yesterday from Alex Cora. Alex Cora came out and said yesterday that the Red Sox are not against using Trevor Story before he's ready to play defense. AKA, so Story had the internal brace procedure. I heard yesterday on the radio broadcast he is throwing. We've known that, but he's throwing from 105 feet, not at full velocity. He is hitting. He's hitting live. So he's much further along as a hitter than he is as a fielder. So Alex Cora says on Monday that the team is not opposed to bringing Story back as just a hitter first, right, before he's ready to play defense. And I'm okay with that. But that brings about a lot of moving parts for the Red Sox. One, on the positive, getting Trevor Story's bat in the lineup is a good thing, right? Trevor Story is a multi-time All-Star. Is he as good as I think his contract says he is, 6 years for 140? No. But is he better than Yu Chang or Pablo Reyes or Kike Hernandez or Christian Arroyo? That answer is yes. So getting his bat in the lineup, he's a multi-time All-Star. Getting his bat in the lineup is a good thing. We see the Phillies doing this now with Bryce Harper. They have brought Harper back before he's ready to play defense. So if the Red Sox want to bring Story back, I am good with that. However, the issue that it causes for Chaim Bloom and for Alex Cora is it changes the complexion of your lineup. The Red Sox really value this rotational designated hitter thing. The ability to put anybody on any given day in the DH spot, right? They can put Devers at DH to give him a day off, or a half day off. They can put Yoshida at DH to hide him defensively. They can keep Turner at DH, which they do a lot. If you put Trevor Story there at the DH spot every day, you have lost all of that positional flexibility, and now you're kind of locked into some things, right? You're not putting Devers at DH. He's playing third every day. Yoshida's bat has to be in the lineup. Okay, if Yoshida's bat is in the lineup, well, now he's not playing DH. He's in left field every single day where you don't think he's that great, where the reports have indicated he's not that great. You're going to get back Adam Duvall soon. we like Duvall, right? We want Duvall's bat in the lineup. Well, is Duvall going to, like, you have 4 outfielders, right? When Duvall comes back, you got Duvall, you got Verdugo, you got Duran, and you got Yoshida. Right now, you got 4 outfielders for 4 spots, the 3 outfield positions in the order and the DH. If Story comes back to play DH, who are you sitting in that outfield group? Are you content to take Duvall out of the lineup, who's hitting 435 in his first 16 games or 16 at-bats or whatever? Are you content to take Duran out and further kind of stunt his development from being an everyday player? Are you going to take Verdugo out of the lineup? Because if Trevor Story comes here, he's playing DH and he's playing almost every single day. He can sit on occasion, but he's playing every single day or close to it. If Story's going to be your DH, then Justin Turner's got to play first. And if Justin Turner's playing first, then what happens to Casas? Is he a bench player or are you sending him to AAA? If you send him to AAA, are you bringing Dahl back up and now he's your bench player despite the fact that he's been so hot? I don't know, but these are the things that Alex Cora will have to navigate. Again, I am fine with Trevor Story coming back and helping this team. This team right now, as we enter play on Tuesday, is 30-30. They are perfectly average. They are in the playoff race, but they are in the fringes of it. They have a chance to make the playoffs, but likely they won't. But if you really want to go for it, Trevor Story coming back and coming back early is a way that you can really go for it. It is a way for you to make a push and play with a sense of urgency. So I'm fine with Story coming back. He would help this team. But a bunch of other things happen. Your DH flexibility goes away. And then finally, really, let me ask you this. What happens to Kike Hernandez? Because Kike Hernandez is a team leader. He's a guy you value in the clubhouse, and he's overall a useful player. But there's not a lot of room for him. Because if I got Story as the DH, well, I got Verdugo and Duvall and Duran and Yoshida. I already got one too many guys there. Kike's not playing center field every single day with that configuration. So are we putting Kike Hernandez at shortstop where he leads the league in errors? Or are we going with defense and playing Pablo Reyes at shortstop? And now Kike Hernandez is just on the bench where I don't think he's real crazy about being. The path of least resistance is not playing Story until he's fully ready. That's the path of least resistance. But the path to the best possible baseball team, that is having Story ready to hit as soon as he is ready to hit. And I don't have a timeline. We'll talk to Tom Caron about this soon, but I'd have to imagine that getting Story back to play defense is not before the All-Star break. I'd have to imagine that getting Story back to hit could be within the next 3.5 weeks or so. So there's a significant difference there of 2 to 3 weeks extra for you to have Story there to make a run. We'll see what happens. Some of this will largely depend probably on what the Red Sox do in the next couple of weeks here, right? If the Red Sox, until July 1st, if the Red Sox in June go 8-14, then it might not matter because they might be out of it. If the Red Sox go 14-8, then it might matter very, very much. And we'll figure it out as we move along. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Reminder, Red Sox baseball comes up about 20 minutes from now. Continuing on, the Red Sox, they made a surprising roster decision yesterday, getting rid of Raimel Tapia. I'll tell you exactly what designated for assignment means, and I'll talk about what it all means for the Sox. That's next here on DEV.
studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and CBS, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours. The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Case at WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world. WDEV, Vermont's news station, with local news broadcasts morning, midday, and afternoon. Morning at 7:03. I'm Lee Cattell on the Radio Vermont News Network. Welcome in afternoon news service here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. I am Brady Farkas. We will have the highlights for you in sports. Now in the news, international and business news. Special look at world news on Vermont's news station, WDEV. I'm our top news from Vermont communities with our top of the editors feature.
In Madison County and chat with John Flowers at the Addison Independent.
Our current affairs program, Vermont Viewpoint. Tell us, we had a great time talking about these political heat and national news updates at the top and bottom of the hour from our partners at CBS.
Is CBS News on air?
Breaking news. From the Radio Vermont News for WDEV, Vermont's news station, AM 550 and 96.1 FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com. Make your opinion heard by texting on to the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026. Now back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Red Sox baseball 20 minutes from now. We'll get you the lineups here on the other side of the CBS News update. But Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, met with players today, and it hasn't gone so well. We'll talk about that again before we get you the Red Sox lineups. Red Sox made an interesting decision yesterday to designate Raimel Tapia for assignment. And it's not a decision particularly that I agree with. Now, I can reconcile it, and I'll explain that in a second, but it's not a decision that I agree with. So first off, what does designated for assignment mean? Designated for assignment means the Red Sox are removing Raimel Tapia off the 40-man roster. In order to do that, the following things have to happen. They will have 7 days now to trade him, so a team can trade for Raimel Tapia. Not likely to happen because the Red Sox don't have a lot of leverage here. Like, they've already made their presence known that they don't want him, so there's not a lot of leverage to be had. So they can trade him. They can release him, in which case they can eat the money, or a team can, or they can put him on in the minors. And what would happen is if he's got to pass through waivers, and then he's got to agree to go to the minors, and if he doesn't want to go, then he just becomes a free agent and comes released anyways. So they have 7 days to figure all this out. So Raimel Tapia is kind of in baseball limbo right now. It's an interesting decision because I think Raimel Tapia has been a valuable player. This is a guy who's got 6-7 years of experience. This is a guy who went to the playoffs last year with the Toronto Blue Jays, who's played in October. A guy who has been a veteran presence on this team. A guy who Lou Merlone said yesterday on Nesson, is good with his role of playing once every 5 or 6 days, which is not easy to do. He's embraced that and accepted that. He's a good defensive player with a decent enough arm. And if you're so worried about Yoshida late in games, he's a guy who can go play the outfield for you late in games that are close. Pinch hit, pinch run, good baseball guy. So I've liked Raimel Tapia. And remember how great he was in spring training. I know that doesn't always translate, but he's been good, right? He's been good. And Alex Cora said that it's because of a commitment to Jarren Duran. And my question is, why did it have to be that? Right? Why did it have to be that? I have advocated for 2 weeks now to send Tristan Casas down. I've really thought that that was the best course of action for this team. Tristan Casas still has a great eye, but at times looks lost at the plate, right? And I don't want to see what happened to Bobby Dahlbeck happen to Tristan Casas. And Tristan Casas has played less lately, right? He's sitting against left-handers at times. He's way down in the order. I think it would be more beneficial to him to be sent down to the minors. So what I would say is you can believe in Duran all you want. Okay, if you want to start Duran and Verdugo and Yoshida, those three in the outfield, okay, start Turner at first, have Duvall at DH, and have Tapia be your fourth outfielder, right? Like you can play. There's room on this roster right now for 5 outfielders. Okay, there's room on this roster right now for 5 outfielders. Duvall's going to come back on Friday. In my opinion, there's room for all of them. Again, there's still the Kike Hernandez question. I get it. So that throws a wrinkle into it. But all in all, until Trevor Story is ready to come back, there's room in my plan here for Casas to go to the minors. He can DH. Dahlbeck can play first. Dahlbeck can play first. He can, or Dahlbeck can DH. He can play first, whatever. Let's get Turner at first base. Let's get Duvall as the guy to be the backup first baseman. And let's have Yoshida, Duran, and Verdugo all play with Tapia be the guy that can spell him late in games. I would have been fine with that. I would have been absolutely fine with that. And the Red Sox made this move, and I don't think they had to. Okay, you can commit to Jarren Duran even with Adam Duvall there if you just put Casas in the minors and put Turner at first base primarily. 802-585-3026 on the Air Auto text line. Real quick, Celtics made a good move yesterday, right? We talked a lot last week about the idea of the Celtics bringing on a veteran assistant coach. I hope you saw this, that yesterday they brought in Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell is a guy who played for the Celtics. Sam Cassell is a guy who has won multiple championships in the NBA. He's been coaching for a number of years as well. Sam Cassell is going to be assistant coach for the Celtics, and that's a really good move. I look at Cassell. He played for 5, 8, 11, 13, 16, 19. It's not 19 seasons. It's part of 19 seasons with a bunch of different teams, but it's about a 16-year career here. Played with a bunch of organizations, right? Sam Cassell, he played for the Celtics at the end, but I remember him mostly as a Milwaukee Buck. But he played for Houston. He's played for Phoenix, Dallas, the Nets, Milwaukee, Minnesota, the Clippers, and the Celtics. He's played with a bunch of different organizations. He's got a player's voice. He has seen the way good organizations are run. He's seen the way the bad organizations are run. He's learned a lot as a coach or from coaches and as a coach. He was an all-star, 3-time NBA champ. He was an all-NBA player. He comes with some cachet. He comes with some experience. This is a good move for the Celtics. And it's a good move for Joe Mazzulla, and it's a good move by Brad Stevens. This team needed another voice like that. They got one here with Sam Cassell. And Eddie House, former Celtic as well, he liked this move also. Sam Cassell is just a guy who's going to get it, right? He's going to know. He's going to be the go-between between the players and Mazzulla. He has a player's mindset. He has an NBA mindset. He's a guy who's had a lot of experience. He knows what it takes, as House said, to get over the hump and win a title. He's played with stars before. He's been around stars before. He's a guy who played with Hakeem Olajuwon. Okay, guy who's that's just early in his career. Guy who played with the big three for the Celtics. He's been in Boston before. This is a good move all around for the C's. Okay, we talked about Steven Silas potentially. There was another name who recently came off the board, but that would have been a good fit. This is a good fit. It's a good fit for the Celtics, and it's a good fit for Mazzulla. So something we talked about a lot last week. Get a chance to come and put a bow on it here. Patriots at OTAs today. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're going to have Tom Caron live and Freddie Coleman on tape, so we'll have a chance to hear from both of them, get some of Freddie's thoughts on the Pats at training camp, or rather at OTAs. We can talk about that tomorrow, but again, TC with us live tomorrow. The PGA Tour merging with the Live Tour. What you need to know and what's happening right now with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. We'll tell you that. It's coming up next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
I'm Christopher Cruz in the Washington Bureau. The Republican presidential race is about to get more crowded. The former governor of New Jersey is expected to make his candidacy official at this hour in New Hampshire.
As he enters the race for the GOP presidential nomination, Chris Christie is positioning himself as the Republican candidate willing to go after former President Donald Trump.
Can't be a part of ridiculous vendettas.
Christie's announcement comes a day before former Vice President Mike Pence kicks off his campaign in Iowa. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum is also expected to join the GOP race Wednesday, adding to an already crowded field that also includes Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
CBS and Nicole D'Antonio. At least 16,000 people are fleeing floodwaters after a major dam and power station inside Ukraine were blown up. White House spokesman John Kirby.
In addition to loss of lives and livelihoods, its destruction can very well have a devastating impact on Ukraine's energy security.
Ukraine is blaming Russia for the attack. Religious groups are now feeding and housing migrants who were flown to Sacramento under allegedly false pretenses. About 3 dozen asylum seekers, most of them from Colombia and Venezuela, arrived in the California capital on 2 charter flights after they were promised jobs by people purporting to work for Florida's government. Gabby Trejo leads a faith-based community organization in the city.
That dream quickly became a nightmare. They were lied to and deceived.
New research has found there may be a way to predict breast cancer risk with more accuracy. CBS's Astrid Martinez on the Health Watch.
Artificial intelligence can do a better job than the standard clinical risk model when it comes to predicting breast cancer. Researchers from Kaiser Permanente, Northern California, applied 5 different AI algorithms to thousands of mammograms and found each one was better at predicting the 5-year risk for breast cancer than the standard risk model.
A new iPhone autocorrect update is coming because you didn't actually need to say duck, says CBS's Matt Piper.
What the duck? For iPhone users, texting curse words has not traditionally been an easy task, with duck being the standard for many people's favorite other word. But Apple announced at the Worldwide Developers Conference that the G-rated autocorrection will come to an end with its newest update. That change comes with a soon-to-come iOS 17, set to debut later this year.
On Wall Street, the 3 major indices all closed in a green. The Dow and S&P 500 up 10, Nasdaq up 47. This is CBS News.
Need hires who dazzle without the hassle? You need Indeed. Their powerful platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/Fred.
As Vermonters, we know that so much depends on the weather. When you need a reliable local weather forecast, it's literally at your fingertips with the WDEV weather phone. Locally dial 244-1172 or toll free at 1-800-585-1211. Ledger Hill's weather forecast is just a phone call away on the WDEV weather phone, 244-1172 or 1-800-585-1211.
The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swan, Vermont's largest independent home center powered by entrepreneurs and windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours. Ready to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, is getting skewered right now at a press conference about the whole merger with the Live Golf Tour. Some of his own players have not been thrilled with this. Obviously, I heard one anonymous player say there's no way that Jay Monahan survives this. Let me just say this up front. You know, based on what we talked about, I'm not a huge golf guy, right? I like to play it. I watch the majors. I'm not really in the underbelly of golf, but let me just say this. The PGA Tour and the merger with Live, this is good for the fans, right? There's a lot of different buckets to this, but it's good for the fans. The fans get to see all the best players together. That's what's important, right? Or that's one thing that's important, excuse me. So this is a win for the fans who now don't have segmented golf. Right? If you're a fan of Brooks Koepka and you never knew where to find him, or you want to watch the whatever open and Brooks Koepka's not there, now he will be. So him, Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Sergio Garcia, popular and successful golfers, Phil Mickelson, are now all back together. So that is good for the game of golf. That is good for the fans of golf, ultimately. So we, the public, win there. Who I feel bad for in all of this is the PGA Tour players who stayed. Right? The guys like Rory McIlroy who took a stand. Right? And they took a stand at a cost to them. Right? Rory McIlroy could have taken, I think it was $300 million to go play for LIV. And he elected not to do that. He took his stand. This hurt him financially. He could have made far more money going to the LIV Tour. And then it became at least something that was always a story, right? Like it was a constant distraction to him. And that had to weigh on him mentally at some point in the last 2 years. So Rory McIlroy carries the water for the PGA. He doesn't get the payout. He carries the water, believes he's taking a good stand. He's doing the right thing. And then 2 years later, the organization he stood up for sold out. And basically everything that Rory McIlroy stood for was basically a lie. Because the PGA didn't stand for what's right. The PGA didn't stand for morality, for justness. The PGA Tour stood for money. Like most people stand for money. Like most organizations stand for money. But Rory McIlroy was taking a stand, as were a bunch of other players, believing what they were doing was right. And then at the end of the day, they got sold down the river. So Rory McIlroy and company, one, they don't get the payday. And two, they get lied to by their organization. That cannot feel good. I feel bad for guys like that. Again, they're all pro athletes. Rory McIlroy is just fine financially, but he doesn't get the money and he gets betrayed by his organization. That's not cool. I feel bad for him. Okay, I feel bad for him. As for Jay Monahan, he's a hypocrite, right? And a lot of people are hypocrites in life, and I hate hypocrites. And I heard Colin Cowherd say this today, and he's right, that basically, everybody who's a moralist has probably never been good enough at something to be offered something that's kind of crooked. And that's fine. But Jay Monahan made everybody who went to LIV out to be like the devil, and everybody who supported it to be like the devil. And here at the end of the day, he danced with the devil. That makes you a hypocrite. Now, Jay Monahan's going to get even richer off this, right? Because of the merger, he's essentially the commissioner of worldwide golf. So he sells all his athletes down the river and gets a promotion out of it. That's not particularly cool to me either. So it's good for the fans. It's great for Jay Monahan, but it's bad for the guys like Rory McIlroy who are deer in the headlights now, wondering what the hell happened and what the hell were we defending for the last several years. And I feel bad for him. That is not cool. And again, he's okay money-wise, but Marion Randolph says I'm shocked. I don't know if you're shocked like you're actually shocked or you're shocked like sarcastically that someone's a hypocrite and somebody took the money. I don't know. I think it's fair to be both, right? If you're sarcastically shocked that people want to get rich, then fine. And if you're truly shocked that these two entities that hated each other combined, I think that's fair too. That was certainly my reaction earlier today. Both of these teams are average. Red Sox are 30-30. Cleveland's 27-32. Cleveland cannot hit. That's what you need to know. Cleveland cannot hit. Alex Verdugo leads off in right for the Red Sox. Yoshida's in left. Justin Turner, the DH. Rafi Devers at third. Tristan Casas at first. Kike Hernandez at short. Jarren Duran in center. And Manuel Valdez is at second. Reese McGuire is the catcher. For Cleveland, Stephen Kwan is in left. The shortstop today is a guy we haven't seen before, Gabriel Arias. Jose Ramirez is at third. Josh Naylor at first. Josh Bell, the DH. Andres Gimenez is at second. Mike Zunino, the catcher. Will Brennan is in right. And Miles Straw, the speedy outfielder, is in center. James Paxton pitches for the Sox, 1-1 with a 4.26. Shane Bieber, the former Cy Young winner and All-Star, 4-3 with a 3.72. Mary says, I'm actually shocked about this. Perfectly fair reaction. Talk about it all tomorrow. See you then.